All right, you guys know last week and this week we've been dealing with functions, function relations, function tables, just a little bit of everything, graphing them. We're going to look at a different way to write them today, guys. We're going to talk about function notation, what that is, how that's represented, and how that's going to be read. Okay, you guys know equations can be written in a form called function notation. Okay, we talked about earlier this week a way to represent a function is through an equation, and we're just going to call that simply function notation. Okay, now the example that we're given, guys, the equation that we are given is y equals 2x minus 8. So if we were to put that in function notation, okay, that would simply just be, adjust that just a little bit, it would look f of x, so the function of x, what that value would be if we substituted it in, okay, equals 2x minus 8. Okay, so that's just how it would look like in function notation. You're simply just replacing the y of what that answer would be if we substituted that value in for x. Okay, now that would read, or you would read that, guys, no different than I just did. That would be f of x equals. So the function of x, whatever that would be, equals. Okay, now the reason that we have like function notation, guys, is for a couple different things. One, let's just say, for example, that you were using an equation to find the distance of something. It may be the distance somebody ran in a certain amount of time, guys, and it could be multiple people. Okay, so you could substitute values in for one person or one runner and get an outcome. But then we would also need to use that same equation for another person to figure out the distance that they ran. Okay, so it may be like a function of one person. We would substitute values in for x, and then it could be a function of another person that would be running, and we would get their values as well. So it may not just be one value or one set of values. The equation can be used multiple times. Okay, so what we're looking at here, guys, we're going to basically just evaluate some functions. If you guys don't remember, guys, all evaluate means is just to solve. Okay, so that's really all we're doing. Solve and evaluating, those are synonyms. They mean the same thing. Okay, so we're going to look at number one here, guys, and this may be a point where I go back and forth between split screen. Okay, but number one, guys, it says the function of x equals x plus 7. Okay, so what it's asking here, if the function was 5, what would that value be? Or if you're looking at b, what would the function be if it was -1? And what would the function be if it was -3? So here, if we're looking at that, guys, I'm just going to change the size of that real quick. That would look, f of 5 would equal, okay, and then we just simply substitute those values in. That would be 5 plus 7. And then we simply evaluate from there. So 5 plus 7, that would equal 12. It's that simple, okay? If we're looking at b, it asks us what the function would be if it was -1. So simply substitute in -1 for x. That's the function we're trying to solve for. So that would be -1 plus 7 equals, and then of course you guys know -1 plus the 7, that is 6. Okay. If we're looking at here at c, simply again substituting -3 in for x, that would be -3. And then plus the 7. And then the function of -3 obviously that would be 4. All right, so we're going to look at parts of examples of each of these real quick. We're going to look at number 3 right here. We're going to skip over number 2, come back to it a little bit later, guys. It's basically just the same concept here. But on 3, guys, here we've got a fraction. I know some of y'all have some questions about fractions. What do you do? How does it change when we're substituting these values in? But, guys, just remember that it does not change. Okay? So if we're looking here, we're looking for what is the function of h if that is -3. Okay? So simply here, guys, that's going to end up being 2/3. We're going to substitute this value in, which is going to be -3. Okay? And then we're also going to have that -1. Okay, so, guys, looking at this, let me separate that so you kind of got a space there. It looks a little neater. Okay, now, guys, when you're looking at this, when you substitute a value in for x, okay, and you have a coefficient next to it, all that means is it multiply. It doesn't matter if your coefficient's a fraction. It doesn't matter if it's a decimal. It doesn't matter if it's a whole number. Okay, you still take that value and multiply it times that. So here we've got 2/3. Okay, so if you've got a calculator handy, you can use a calculator. Whatever your preference is, I'm just going to talk you guys through this and show you. So here on the next one, guys, simply 2/3 times -3, guys. That's going to give us 2 or -2. So we should have -2 equals, -1, and that's going to equal, okay? And so then coming down here, guys, -2 minus 1, that should give me -3 for my final answer. Okay, so the function of -3, that equals ends up being -3 as well. Okay, all right. So we simply just did A right there. You guys will come back and look at B and C in just a little bit. Okay, all right. Now we're going to go to 5, where we have an exponent here, where we're going to end up squaring the value that we substitute in. Okay. So I'm gonna go a little bit of split screen and try to show you guys both here. Okay. So here you can kind of see. I'm gonna exit out of the chat. If you guys got questions, make sure that you let me know. All right. So here we've got the function of x, guys, 3x squared plus 7, and we're looking to substitute in -4 for x right there. Okay. Now, what you guys see here, let me get my text box. That's going to end up being, guys, 3, okay? And then we're going to multiply that times the value that we substitute in, which is -4. And then that we would have to insert an equation, which would be 2. And I'm going to show you guys right here on the paper, okay? All right, so that would be 3, parentheses, just like we've got. -4. Now remember, guys, the whole -4, that is squared. Don't put your square in there with the parentheses. That's telling us that just the 4 would be squared. But guys, we've got to understand that the whole value, that whole -4, is going to be squared there. Okay? And then we still have our plus 7 right there, which we would come and we would figure out what that equals. Okay, so now, guys, solving this, remember, it's just order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Okay, so here, guys, when we square, the first thing that we come to, we're going to square that -4. That -4 squared, that is going to be 16. So we still have 3 times that 16 that you guys see, plus the 7. Okay, still following order of operations, so we're going to multiply that 3 times that 16. That's going to give me 48 plus 7. And then that's going to come out to equal 48 plus 7, guys. That is going to be 55. So if this was the function of h, which is -4, the value that we would end up solving for would be 55 here. All right, so again, guys, I told you we were trying to look at some examples here, where you had a little bit different on each of the functions. Okay, so here, guys, we've got a square. Here we've got another variable right here that we're going to have to substitute the function in for, and then we're just going to end up having to solve. It's just a little bit of a multi-step problem here. Okay, so if we're substituting these in, guys, remember this is 2. Substitute in -8, and remember all of that is squared, plus we have 4 times that -8, and then we're still going to subtract 9 as we solve for this. Okay, all right. Coming down here, we have, again, following order of operations, guys, we have 2, -8 times -8, or that -8 squared, guys. That's going to give me a positive 64 plus the 4 minus 8, or -8, excuse me, and then minus that 9. Okay. All right. As we're still solving here, guys, we've got some multiplication here. So we've got 2 times that 64. That's going to be 128 plus, and then you have that 4 times that -8, which is going to be -32. And then we have minus the 9 as we're still solving this function. Okay? All right, so then here, 128 plus that -32. Remember, those are different signs, so you'll end up subtracting. That should give me 96 minus 9, and then 96 minus 9. So f of -8. So f of -8. That would equal, and then 96 minus 9, that should be 87. Okay? All right. For your homework or your classwork, guys, y'all are going to finish all of the rest of the ones we did not complete through number 9. So y'all are going to finish all of 1 through 9. Okay? That would be all of the parts that we didn't get to. For example, like we did all of number 1 together, so you don't have to worry about number 1. You do have to complete number 2, and then the ones like number 3, where we did those, guys, you will only have to complete B and C for that one. You will only have to complete B and C for 5, and then B and C for number 9. Again, we're not looking at number 10 right now. And then you guys, again, will have 7, 8, 4, and 6. Y'all will have to complete all of those.